Okay. All right, we ready to roll? Yeah, okay, so let's chazer from yesterday.
Yeah, I had a shtickle ha'ara yesterday. One of the shahs is why do we say one of the tsaras is tzagi l'banim and then pregnancy?
Right.
Shouldn't one come before the other? On a time of the first pregnancy, everybody's so excited and then you have the kid and you realize, wait a minute, tzagi l'banim, the next one is what the pregnancy is going on because that's when you really feel the pain.
I hear. Okay. You should know, parents. There is somebody that says a pshat along those lines. They say that the second pregnancy is harder than the first because you already have a kid.
Ah, okay.
So it's sort of what you're saying. So you're mechaven to. I think Ben Yoda says that. Somebody says that pshat. So you're on the ball. You're on the ball with that pshat. Yeah. By the way, okay. Well, let's just chaz and we'll discuss for a minute the end of yesterday's daf, which hopefully will be for a minute, right? But yeah. So daf kuf was the whole din of roots, right? The roots lie. You're not allowed to sit on a root higher than 3 tefachim off the ground, which you're allowed to. There's a machlokes. That's what we paskin. And there's a machlokes if you have a root that goes up and down like a mountain. So what's all the statuses of those? And then we had the machlokes. What do you do if you're on a tree? If you're on a tree on Shabbos and you're on top of a tree, should you go down? Should you not go down? And we tried to compare it to mixing of the blood, sprinkling on the mizbeach. There was a taisus that I forgot to mention over there, which asks, why don't you say essay doichalois essay? Right? The essay of what do you call it? Of the sprinkling the blood should take over the lois essay of Baal Tosef. Right? So Tosef has interesting teretz that he says here you were a oisvarf. So I mean that's not the way Tosef says it, but that's what, right? It was a pshia that you came to the situation, right? So and you were able to do it without being doichel lav. So therefore we're not going to let you be doichel lav anyways. That is it's interesting Tosef. Right, then Amud Beis discusses all the different things that you're not allowed to do, what type of trees you're not allowed to climb on, and then with grass. And we ended up saying that the halach is like Reb Shimon. So as long as you don't know for sure, you don't know that the grass is definitely going to be cut or uprooted, then you're not allowed. Then you're fine. And then we said all these discussions about intimacy, which I saw from if somebody learned these gemaras, they say 1 second, that's not the way it works nowadays. I don't know if this is a comparison or not, but I once saw from Rabbi Vigdor Nebensal, from the old city, that he should be zaycha to have arichas yomim. I mean, he's already been zaycha to have arichas yomim. He should be zaycha to have more arichas yomim, right? So he said that you see that sometimes the mitzias has just changed, right? He said the Gemara says in Kedushin, he was talking about this specifically. He was saying that a woman would rather be married to anybody than to be alone. Right, Tavla mate of Tandu Milames of Armalu. Right, or a woman would rather be married to anything than to be alone. He says that clearly is no longer the case. He says the women when it comes to shidduchim they're not. They would not rather be married. They would not rather be married. But whatever. So some of these rules can change with societal norms, whatever it is.
Don't we say that? Isn't that Allah Ma'aseh that Metzias can change in regards to Nida? There's certain things that they say.
Yeah, that's true.
Changed.
Yeah, no one has a gushes anymore, right?
Yes, yeah, but that's a metzias that it doesn't. But you're right, Akiva. Yeah, some things. That's a big machlokes whether we go with the changes or not.
I'm saying Lagabe Kabeya was Kabeya also the metzias changed, right? You see that mamish from they switched the shear. The Gemara's before we discussed this, no?
Yeah.
We've had this conversation probably half a dozen times since we started Daf Yomi about how a Metzia changes through history, no?
Yeah, it does, but the question is sometimes this here it's just hashkafa. What we discussed yesterday.
No, I was saying halacha.
No, halacha it's already debatable. It's already more
debatable.
But
a lav can change. A lav can change.
What?
A lav
Mo-
can't change. You're still
No,
over
a
the
lav
lav.
can't change. No, a lav can't change.
No, but a mitzvah that could affect the lav or even karis, like nida.
Right.
can
So that's
change.
right. So that's a shaila. That is a big shaila. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. Let's talk to Mishna. Yeah. Tonight's daf is not nearly as interesting as yesterday's daf. Not on Amud Aleph, not on Amud Beis. Not from yesterday's Amud Aleph was also very interesting. Besides the Amud Beis. But tonight is it's a little, it's whatever. There's some halacha l'maisa. If you don't use an eruv, there's some decent halacha l'maisa.
Yaakov,
Yeah.
excuse me, any man that wants his wife to be machmir and bedikas should probably be man enough to check a bag of rice, you know what I mean? And not worry what happened to Yenim's rice.
Hi, very good. Okay. I don't know if that was.
I guess I'm not sure if that was aimed at me or not.
It was just a kloliest digazach. That was a kloliest digazach, 100%. Yeah. Okay.
Where's the
Very
doctor? Yenim's wife, not rice.
Yeah. Okay. So Zok the Mishnah. Yeah. So it basically tonight's daf for the most part is all about baina or not. Is something baina or not? Meaning, when you open your front door, are you destroying your house and then closing your front door? You're building your house, right? So obviously the answer is no, because it's meant to do that and it's attached to the walls of your house. So that's the way it's meant to be. Same thing with a folding chair, folding table, pack and plays, right? Porta cribs, all these type of things. It's meant to do that. So mamela, it has no problem. What happens if it's not so clear to people that that's what it's meant to be? So that's what we're going to do. That's a lot of the tonight's daf is going to focus on. So talk to Mishnah. Hadeles sheba muksa. If you have a door that's in a muksa, doesn't mean muksa that the door is muksa. Muksa means, we had this a few times, that a muksa is like in the backyard with the storage. We had storage things. So you had this hamisha door, like Ayin Peretz's garage door, if you really want to see what a hamisha door on a storage thing is, right? It comes and goes, it's up, it's down, it's not, right? So, or I guess the door to my car from Icky also. But so anyway, so it comes and it goes, and you keep it on, you don't keep it on. So Adela sheba muksa, v'chadokim sheba pirza. And sometimes when you have an opening in a fence, so you do is take thorns and put them in the opening to stuff up the opening. Umachzolos, and also you would also take a reed, right? A reeds, right? A mats, yeah. Umachzolos ain't noilin behen, so you're not allowed to use them. You're not allowed to close the door on Shabbos. Ela imken gevayim in aretz, unless they're in the air. Meaning, if the doors or these thorns or this thing of reeds is hanging off the door or off the wall, then you're allowed to, because then it looks like it belongs there. But if it's on the floor, then it just looks like total baina, right? This thing is laying on the floor. Now I'm deciding to, meaning if I had a door to my front door, if I didn't have a front door on my house, and there's a door laying there, would I be able to pick up that front door and put it in, right? So you wouldn't be able to. You know where this comes up? The shaila comes up is, people have sliding doors, to their porch or whatever it is. And a lot of times those things come out of the tracks, right? So can you take it when it comes out of the screen door usually? It's usually an issue of the screen door. It comes out of the tracks very easily. So it pops off the tracks. Can you put it back in there or not? Right? So this Gemara is saying that as long as it's hanging, even if it's partial, as long as none of it is on the ground, you're allowed to put it there. Yeah? Right, so Zok Gemara, yeah, Uramin, I'll ask you a stira. Deles hanigreres. If you have a door that's dragging on the floor, umachzeles hanigreres, and you have a mat that's also on the floor. V'kankan hanigra, and kankan, it means it goes behind the plow. It's something that you hold onto the plow with, right? Is manchik shurin betluyin noilim, and when they're tied on and hanging, you're allowed to use them. Noilim ben, you're allowed to lock the door with it. B'Shabbos and Shabbos. Ve'ein tzarich leimer, and it goes without saying b'Yom Tov and Yom Tov. Right. So what's the kasha? So you see, right, that it has to be, if it's tied on, then it's okay, and you're allowed to lock it up. So Amar Abaye b'sheyesh lem tzir. Abaye says it's somewhere where they have a tzir. A tzir is like a bolt, like some sort of bolt. What are you saying, Gershon? What is it? No. So it's a bolt that on the bottom and the top of the door, that the door swings on. So if it has that, then that's clear that shows you that belongs to be part of the door. Rav is more makel. Says it doesn't have to actually have it. As long as it did have it at one point, that means that door belongs on that door belongs on that wall, and then you're allowed to do it. You're allowed to use it to close a meisvei delas hanegreres. If you have again the same case, a door that's being dragged, and you have a mat that's being dragged. V'kankan hanigra is machik shun v'teluyin ugvayim v'naaretz. When they're tied on and they're hanging and they're above the ground, meaning they're not dragging on the ground, even if it's the size of a hair, as long as it's a hair off the ground, as long as there's a hair's width of space between the door and the ground, you can lock it up. If not, then you can't lock it up. Right? So Abaye is going to answer this stira, and Rav is going to answer the stira. Meaning doesn't mean you need both, right? If you just the pashut of reading of the Bryce is that you need both, which is the stira, right? We just said as long as it has, as long as it's in the air, and here it has to be in the air and tied on. So saying that Abaye and Rav are going to say the same teretz. Right, Abaye mataretz tamei oishi yesh len tzir oishi gavay maratz. Either it's above the ground or it has on that what do you call it? The pins. Right, Rav mataretz tamei kashayu len tzir oishi gavay maratz. It's somewhere where it did have the tzir or it was above the ground, but even though right now it's not above the ground. Fine.
It's fun. It's a funny lesson because the Mishna's Mashma, everything's present tense. It's like a funny thing that
Rav is saying.
Yeah, he's touching it up. One, either it was or it is.
Yeah, it's interesting, but it's a big cooler what he's saying. As long as it did once had it, then it's gonna be all right. Right, you're right. Okay, so Tana Rabbanan suchei kaitzim v'chavilan sheskinon lepirtza shebechatzer. If you have a bundle of thorns, right, and wood that were meant to block up an opening in your fence, right? You have a hole in your fence, and you want to make sure nobody comes in or out. So a smart thing to make sure people don't come in and out is take thorns and put them there, right? So when they're tied on and they're hanging, Shabbos, you're allowed to put them in on Shabbos into the space. It goes without saying on Yom Tov. Tani Reb Chia, Delas Almana, a very interesting choice of words here. A widowed door, a door that's a widow, right? Which Rashi says means that it's missing something. Just like a widow is missing something, so this door is also missing something. Hanegreres, that's being dragged on the floor. Ain't no, but you're not allowed to use it to lock it up because it's dragging on the floor. You're not allowed to use it to close up a doorway. What is a delas almana? Yikidami the chad shifa. Some say that it means it only has one piece of wood, meaning doors. I nowadays too, right? Doors are usually made up of a couple of pieces of wood that are glued together or nailed together. So this only has one piece of wood. It doesn't have a what do you call it? Doesn't have a piece of wood that goes across.
Crossbeam.
A crossbeam. Yeah, very good. Although a crossbeam I thought went across a room, right? But it means it's a beam that's attaching the two pieces of the door, right? So it doesn't have it.
A mantle.
A mantle? Is that, yeah, that's what it says. I don't know. But what's
it's
it
not,
called?
It's not on top of the door. This is to attach. This is the top of the door. To attach all the pieces, the slats of wood that the door is made of, right?
I don't know, because it can't be the cross beam that goes above the doorway, because it has to be on the door that's on the floor.
Right, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
Yeah, right. So that's what it is.
Can I ask you on the kaitzim?
Stave, maybe.
Oh, staves. The staves go on the door. Staves go on the edge of the door.
That's what they make barrels out of.
But I think it's also for holding any
Yes,
wood device together.
it's a long, thin piece of wood.
Right. I hear.
On the kaitzim case.
Yeah.
Today, if I had a gap in my fence and I lived somewhere, I don't know, south side of Chicago, and I used barbed wire, would that be the same as kaitzin, or it's just obvious anyway from the fact that it's barbed wire that that's what it's for? No one else uses it for anything else.
I could hear that being because barbed wire is a like what Akiva was saying, that today things have changed. Barbed wire might be today's thorns, no?
I didn't know
don't know.
Cleveland's doing so much better than
Yep.
Chicago.
I mean, the old days thorns, the old day thorns.
Yeah, the
Oh,
thorns we use for
Chicago,
other
you're
things.
offending the Chicago people. Watch out. Yeah.
That's why I said south side, not the regular. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
No,
I
it
don't
could
know.
be that it's more collagen.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I hear. I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know when the practical would come up, but let's hope never. But yeah. Okay, let's see. Right. Some Rabbi Yehuda. Hi Medursa. This is now this next one has to do with oil. Right? I'm not sure why the Gemara brought it here. I guess it all has to do with building. Right? But they could come out of nafkamina to this. Some Rabbi Yehuda in practical halacha. Hi Medursa. If you're building a fire, so you're not building a teepee fire. I don't know how many pyromaniacs we have over here. Right, but you're building a log cabin, right? There's two ways people build fires. Some to build a teepee, some you build a log. Like you alternate pieces of wood. You make a square.
So before we were talking about Shabbos, and now we're talking about Yontif.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not talking about Shabbos in this case.
No, of not right.
Right, I'm
Yeah.
saying. Okay.
Yeah, good point. Yes, I should have pointed that out. Very good. Yes, a high madursa. If you're taking a madura, right? A madura is a fire. So then you have to set it up, mimaila lamata, sorry, right? From top to bottom, you have to first put the top layer and then build down. Meaning, point is that if you, in the next, well, let's do the few cases and we'll discuss it. Mimata lamala also, but if you start from the bottom up, it's also. V'chein biyasa, same thing with eggs, right? Again, this is another example where here it spells, instead of saying beitzo with a tzadi, right? And you pronounce it beya. Here the Gemara actually spells it beya, but it means beitza, right? Yeah. So if you want to cook eggs, right? So you put the pot, and then you put the walls, right? Or you put it across two pieces of wood. V'chein kidra, and the same thing with a pot, yeah. So if you want to take a pot and put it on top of two pieces of wood or barrels or whatever it is, then you got to put it on first. Meaning you hold the pot up and then you put the barrels under it. Meaning, lamashal, if this is your pot and you're gonna lean it on something, so you hold it up here and then you put the things that you're gonna let rest the pot on, right? V'chein puria, same thing with a bed. If you're gonna set up a bed, so you got to hold up the mattress first, and then you put the legs of the bed on there. V'chein chavisa, same thing with barrels. If you want to put barrel on top of the other ones, right? So that's the din, and the reason for this is because of oil, right? Meaning, if you build the walls first, then you build the top, then you just built yourself an oil, and you're not allowed to build the oil on Shabbos, right? So
One
therefore,
second. Beitzim has an issue of oil.
well, it doesn't really mean the beitzim. I think it means the pot.
No,
Right?
that's v'chein kidra.
Yeah, so I understood it that it's eggs in a pot, but you're right. When you take, I mean, I don't know how you putting an egg on a grill if you don't have a pot. No? But you're right. I'm reading into it very balabatish. I'm saying but you're right.
Kidra usually means meat.
That's kidra.
Kidra with meat. Right. So eggs is a different thing. The different kind of things that people would cook.
Rashi says, "Tzarich lecha is beitzim biyadei al or v'chibra yitin eitzim tachteim." Rashi mamash says that they would put it under it after you put the beitzim. You holding
Unless
the
he's
beitzim
making maybe he's making hard-boiled eggs.
I don't
Is this a
understand.
one-person
Why would this
job?
be oil? Why would this even be
Now,
Mexican
sounds
oil?
like it's difficult to do this with one person.
I'm saying this is a two-person job or a one-person
You're right.
job?
It's like taking cholent Friday night, and you got to put it back on with chazara. You got to hold it. You need somebody else, and it's a whole game going on. What are you saying, Akiva?
Why is this Mexican oil? We're talking about food here. Why would anyone think that we're talking about oil here?
No,
Obviously there's no Isser oil here. We're only talking about Mexican oil, right?
Right. This whole
That's
thing
what all
is
these cases are.
All
Right,
these
so, like,
cases
why
are
would you
messy. These
think
are
of
not actual
food
building. We know putting a door
when
into
somebody's
a-
cooking something, why would you say it's Mexican oil?
No, but the point is that the reason you're dangling these pots over. You don't want the pot to go directly in the fire. So what you're doing is you're building up a little wall around it so that it has something to sit on. So that's if you would see the reason why is it not oil? Because oil is shot that you want protection from what's under it. Here it's not. You're not protecting what's under it. You actually want it for the top, right?
You're
But it
cooking
looks
it.
like
What
right, but you
looks
don't
like
want it to be cooked straight directly in the fire. But since Lamaisa, you're creating a cavity. You are creating a cavity, right? So we don't want you to create. It looks like you're creating a cavity. Now the reason why is it taken out of oil? You are creating an oil. When you
what
put one
part is
barrel
creating
on
oil?
top of
The
two
egg?
barrels, what?
Right, but I'm talking about the eggs. I'm not talking about the barrels. The
Let's
eggs.
say all these
What?
cases.
No, I don't understand how the eggs fit into all these cases. When you put an egg on top of something, every single time I put something on top of something else on Shabbos, I should be worried about oil.
Oh, yeah, some say that. Yeah. So how about putting on a tablecloth? Yeah, putting on some person say you put a tablecloth on Shabbos.
What is the sheet that said it has to be mamish oil, and then it can't be like a wall or something, or like meaning it has to mamish be a real oil? What do they do with this Gemara?
What do you mean that it has to be a real oil?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what they do with this
Like,
Gemara.
why would you even have a havamina?
I hear. But the bottom line is the way around it is to build the top first and then you build the walls, right? So one of the tainas that people say against kids playing with Lego on Shabbos is that if they build a house, as long as there's a tefach of airspace, let's say they build a house with their Lego, and there's a tefach, right? So now they made an oil, right? So what you got to do is tell them to build the roof first, right? L'chayra, that would take care of it, unless you say there it's a real oil and this shtick doesn't work. Maybe the shtick only works for something that's Mexica oil, but not for real oil. But if you want, I'm wondering if that gets you out of the kids, if they're making an oil with a house with Lego, then you tell them to put the roof on, build the roof, hold up the roof, and then you build the walls under it, right?
What about the pack and play?
Yeah.
The pack and play has that top part?
The pack and play.
When you put the bassinet part on top of it.
Right.
Right.
So you should put it first.
Put it first and then pull the walls out.
Maybe. I never heard of anybody saying that chumrah, but you're right. Maybe.
So this shita, you can put a piece of cake on top of your coffee cup. While you're eating your while you're drinking your coffee,
Very
you put
good.
the cake on top of the cup. You can't do that.
You got to hold the cake up first and slide your coffee cup under the cake. That's what you have to do, you're saying. That's a new chumrah. That's a good one.
That one person can handle.
That's true, but it's a nice chumrah.
Maybe that's why
the coffee's too hot.
Maybe that's why you can't drink. You're not supposed to eat cake before davening Shabbos.
But it could be the coffee's too hot and it's heating up the cake, and there's
you're drinking iced coffee.
There's bishul after afia. So
do we really need more chumras? I mean, come on, let's be honest. Yes,
of course we do. That's what keeps the world rolling, man.
But Yaakov Taisus actually speaks about that it's only when it's al gabe ikarka al shoch. He speaks out specifically. He doesn't want to say like Rashi.
Well, right. Taisus disagrees with Rashi. Right. On the egg, yes, Taisus disagrees with Rashi.
Besides for the tefach that it needs to be, is there like a minimum shear of surface area? Like in your Lego example, most kids aren't doing, a huge set.
So you're saying it's not negay anyways with the tefach?
No, I don't know. I'm asking you. Does it also have to be like dollar or something?
The tefach's only 4
I don't know.
inches.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Besides for the tefach you need for the oil.
Right. I don't know. I'm not makbid on my kids. I'm not makbid on my kids. I let them play Lego. I don't get involved in their Lego.
You let them make tents with the blankets on the chairs?
Yeah, they make tents.
As long as they're quiet, you leave them alone.
But that's true. But that's taka. What do you call it? The tents with the thing is Shabbos not pashut at all. Really not pashut. Right? Okay, whatever it is.
On top of you,
Putting a what?
The cover.
Yeah, but that's the,
Bianca, what's not posted about the tent minion?
not the 10 million, Aaron. Don't worry. As long as your tent is there before Shabbos, Aaron, that's all. Just make sure it's up before Shabbos.
It's up before Shabbos, don't worry.
There you go. Baruch Hashem. Okay,
What
so
about
you're good to go.
what about awnings? Awnings on the outside of somebody's house?
Awnings on the outside.
You know the ones that like crank out.
Yeah, so that's gonna be tomorrow's daf, Bez Hashem. We'll discuss that in tomorrow's daf. I think tomorrow's or the next day. I think tomorrow. But what were you saying?
Too many more
Holodecal is
choices.
not an issue, but you need a tefach of space in order to be an oil. You need a tefach. In order for it to be an oil,
Yeah, that's not hard for it to happen.
What do you mean? You got two challahs?
2 collars with 4 inches between, 4 inches tall.
I hear.
Well, so why can't you use an umbrella if you hold it really close to your head?
We had this discussion.
Yeah, where Me'ikar Adin, umbrellas can be used on Shabbos.
We said this.
It seems like, yes, Naftali, it's a good question. The umbrellas Me'ikar Adin could be used
If the
on
umbrella was
Shabbos.
open from before, right?
Even but even to open it after, what should be the problem? Even if to open it on Shabbos, what should be the problem? It's meant to open and close, right? Lamaisa, the Paiskim
It's
said
not
it's
not
awesome.
permanent.
It's not
Permanent is only mutter if it's already partially ready to be open, right? Or part of it's already
right. So
even
that's gonna be
LRI.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
saying even
gonna be
LRI is
tomorrow.
only mutter if it's partially open. Is that
Correct.
like
It's
a
only
shlach
musaf.
needs to have like a tefa?
Correct. Yeah, so that's tomorrow. That's tomorrow's daf. Okay, Bez Hashem. Okay, so let's see Vita. So Amalei Ahut Tzeduki. Yeah, that's what we're up to, right? Yeah, so Amalei Ahut Tzeduki l'Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya. Chidka, he told him a chidka, which means somebody who's full of thorns.
No pun intended right now.
What do you mean?
We just talked about the thorns.
Right, no, right. This is pun
That's
intended.
why he's calling him that?
Yes, this is why this Gemara brings it down. Yeah, no pun intended. That's why I understand it. I think so. Right? Chidka, d'chsiv b'chu, it says by you, right? We discussed Reb David Feinstein that knew Tanakh when he was 7 years old. Here we go, right? Okay, I don't even know this. I don't even face. I'm saying I can't even read the pasuk straight. Yeah, toivam kechedek, right? It says by you people. He's talking about like on the fruma, right? That the best of you are like a chedek, like a thorn. So you see, right? So the Tzeduki is telling him, you see, you good people are like thorns. Amarle, so he said to him, Shat you're a shaita. Shvil the sefer the krok. Go to the end of the pasuk. Tichsiv, it says Yashar mimsucha, that the Yashar, the people that are straight, is they're straighter than a masucha, like a sukkah, from a sukkah, right? From a covering, right? So you see that it's not, if you would finish the whole pasuk, it's actually a good thing. Meaning that the thorns are better, it's part of a covering, yeah. And what does it mean? The best is a thorn. Just like these thorns, maginin ala pirza, they protect when you have an opening in your fence. You use thorns to protect it, right? Or barbed wire, right? Our best people protect us, right? So that's what it means in the pasuk. Another pshat, toivim kechedek, right? The best is like a thorn, right? What it does is it pushes the Gehenim, the Rishayim to Gehenim. Shenemar kumi v'daishi bastian ki karnich asim barzel aparsesayich asim nechusha v'adikos amim rabim. So it says, get up and Bastian, but that's referring to the Yidden, right? And we're going to make your keren, your what do you call it, keren? Your horn into metal. Upasasayach, and your feet, you're going to make it like nechayshes, like what's it called? Nechayshes, how do you call it? Brass, right? And what is it called? What's the last thing? Vadikos amim rabim, and then you're gonna crush many nations, right? So Memelov was saying the second shot is that the Chashuvim are going to have thorns, and that's going to end up crushing the Rishayim, and the Rishayim will end up going to Gehenna. Okay, fine. Now we have the next. Yeah.
Rashi says that this word mahabkin is from V'shachachtem yimenu hadek.
Right.
But it's the word v'shachakta means to crush, not hadek. Hadek means fine.
No, but I think in order to get fine, you have to crush. No.
Yeah, but that's v'shachakta. V'shachakta, remember, you should grind them very fine.
No, but shachaktam, and you grind it up hadek. So hadek is pshat. It's a super grinding. No.
So it means doesn't just mean super fine. It means super ground.
How do you get to super fine if you don't grind?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. Okay, whatever it is. Yeah. Okay, zog the Mishnah. Yeah. So lo yamed adam b'reshus hayachid v'yiftach b'reshus harabim. This, I don't know if anybody remembers from the old Shayoshev days that they didn't use the Eruv. So how do you get into your house on Shabbos? Right?
Took 100 days for the Gemara to teach us this. Don't we know this?
That was.
You can't. You're standing in one reshus. You want to pick up a key in another reshus?
No, but you would think.
Yeah, but if you're not moving, you can hold a
Right.
key.
You're not moving. B is you're just putting it in the door and then you take it out of the door, right? But you're right. But I think most people though wouldn't dawn on them. Maybe because you learned this 100 blocks, so maybe it dawned on you. But I don't know if I would have.
I don't remember 99.9 of them.
Okay. Is it the front door of the house considered the house? I mean, like the entrance to the house, like the awning, whatever it is.
It depends. If you have an awning, then you have to start working with the P Tikra and the good asics and the good.
Right.
You got to start using all the shtick from the last 100 blocks to make yourself an Eruv. But let's say you don't have an awning. So now what do? You take your key. Let's say you leave it on the hiding under the great hiding place under the mat.
Or you use one of those tie clip key thing.
Right, or you're on your belt, right, on your belt. So you take off your belt and you stick it into the door. Now you're taking it from reshus harabim and now it's going into a reshus hayachid, into the door. Then
Are you allowed to pick up your pants when they fall down?
Yeah, well, covered up riyas, I guess. But you're not moving there, so don't move dalet amas, and then you'll be
unless
okay.
Unless it's shotness.
Right, if it's shotness, right, yeah. Well, you remember that guy in Farako? It was on video. He came home and the guy stole his pants right on Nielsen Street. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I met that guy, and the next day.
There you go. Right. So you never know when these things happen.
I hope you put on a new suit when you met him.
Can someone fill me in?
He showed up to davening without pants.
There was a guy that lived in Nielsen Apartments, and he was on videotape. He was going into his apartment building, and these guys robbed him. And they were so flustered.
It was Shabbos.
He said, I don't have any money. They just like, they were so flustered. They told him to take off his pants. He had to take off his pants, and it's all on video.
Yeah. There you go. But anyway,
there you go. Now you're filled in. It was before you moved, so I don't know why you don't know.
No, Lando, the same thing happened to me. The guy came, can I have your car? I said, no, can I give you my pants?
That's because you offer your pants to everybody. That's no raya.
He takes the pants off his
pants from the mikveh.
Okay, let's go. Yeah, anyway, so that's the shaila here. Yes, it's the Mishnah. Lo yamid adam b'reshus hayachid. A person cannot stand on a private property v'yiftach b'reshus harabim and open a door into reshus harabim. I don't know how common that case would be. The other way would be the more common. Reshus harabim yiftach reshus hayachid. In reshus harabim, and open the door into reshus hayachid. Elim kein asa mechitza gavay asar tvachim. R Meir. You have to make a mechitza around you in the reshus harabim. Otherwise you're carrying your key. You're putting it into your keys in reshus harabim, and you're putting it, or not even the key, the door, whichever. Amrullah said, I told him, Maisa b'shuk shel p'tamim. There was a Maisa in the shuk of the p'tamim is the meat shuk, right? Yerushalayim, shayu noilim, manichin as maftech b'chaloin shal gabi pesach. What they did is they would lock the door. Where would they leave the key? By the window that's on top of the door. But that's where they stored the key. Shuk shel tzamarim, it wasn't the meat shuk, it was the wool shuk. Okay. Whatever it is, so they had an eitzah. They kept the key. You kept the key on the windowsill or something, and then you moved it from there. So we'll see how the Gemara goes here.
The fact that they changed the
point of locking the door?
What do we know? Because they didn't carry the key. That's all.
Yeah, but the Mishnah, what's the point of locking the door if the whole town knows where you put the key?
What?
Well, then they put it in the
Oh.
Gemara, and the whole world knows.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. Right. I'm not sure what the hiding place. Yeah.
Why
no,
does
but
it
the
matter?
point is, again, there's nothing bad. We'll get to you. But there's nothing bad, some wrong with what you're doing here. Right? What should be wrong? You take the key, you're reshus harabim, and you put it into the door of reshus hayachid, but you're not putting it down. You just unlock it, right? You unlock it and then take it back out, right? So, but it's a gezerah. That's all. It's a gezerah that you might end up coming to move the key back and forth. So then the Gemara. So that's what the Chachamim are saying. That you see that they weren't geyser for this. They let him keep the key on the windowsill.
Wouldn't the lock, putting it in the lock, number one, isn't that going into the reshus hayachid?
Yeah. So now we're going to have to see on Amud Beis exactly how big is this lock. Is it a makom patur? Is it reshus hayachid? Is it a karmelis? Pasha says it should be a makom patur. Right? Okay. How high is it? Is it above 10 tvachim? Below? Right? It's above 10 tvachim. Right? So that's what we're going to discuss on Amud Beis.
Are we talking about the same reshus hayachid? Meaning, when they put it on the windowsill and they want to put it into another reshus, aren't they taking it from one? They're taking it from one reshus hayachid and putting it to another, right? That's why it's above 10 tvachim. This case of the butchers, they put it into reshus hayachid. Am I correct in assuming that?
They put it into a reshus. Yeah.
They took it from reshus hayachid and they put it into the same reshus hayachid. Aren't they bringing it? Are they keeping it when they unlock the door? They're taking it from reshus hayachid and putting it into the same reshus hayachid?
Yeah.
Or is it going from one reshus hayachid to another reshus hayachid? Are these separate reshus?
No, that's not the issue. The whole thing is just a gezerah that you start.
I'm just asking. Like, I'm trying to understand.
It could be. Yeah, we'll see on Amud Beis.
I'm saying you can't bringing from one reshus to another reshus is another. It's another derabanan. It's a completely different derabanan than gezerah. Stop. You're not allowed to bring from one reshus hayachid to different reshus.
Well, you're not really carrying. You're not really doing a hanocha in any of them. Right? You're not really doing a hanocha.
Why? Putting it into a doorway is not an hanocha?
Putting into the doorway, it could be a hanocha, but that might not be in a reshus hayachid. That might be already a makom patur.
So bringing from a reshus hayachid to a makom patur is allowed always.
A reshus hayachid makom patur is allowed. It's on a temporary basis for sure.
Why does the Mishnah sometimes, or the Gemara also, when they tell of the situation of what like in this one, which market it was? So he said, no, it was a meat market. No, it was really the wool market. Like, why does it matter, mitzias-wise, what kind of market it was?
Yeah, because...
Or is it just like trying to get the story right? We're trying to be like,
you know what? I would say, we go in the morning when we go. I'm waiting for you to say,
No, Yaakov, there's a street in the old city near Ateres Koyanim. That's the cotton market, and there's a street there. That's the cotton market, and you can walk straight into harabayis. The end of it, there's a door that goes right into harabayis. It's an old cotton market. Like the shuk. It has a covering over it, and you mamish. It's 2 blocks, and you open the door there. You mamish right by Harab. You buy harabayis. Look into harabayis.
So I'm saying, so that changes the case.
Maybe, I don't know. It's telling you. I know where this street is. That's all it for me. I said, oh, it's probably the same as the Cotton Street. Just made me feel good because I knew where it was and I was on that street. That's all.
That's what I was saying. Like, does it mitzias-wise, does it change the case, or is it just like, let's get historically accurate information of like where it took place?
Which, by the way, which means now we have no historically accurate information because now we have a Machlokes of which type of shuk it was from, right? That's okay. I didn't want to.
No, it's not. Who says the Machlokes? He agrees because he doesn't say no, right? I mean, unless the Gemara discusses it. So
I don't know. No, he says you heard it was in a wool shuk, and see, I would say that Yiddishkeit we try and get the facts straight and right, but we don't even have it straight what went on in the Beis HaMikdash. We discuss this all the time.
Art Score brings a footnote. Art Score brings the footnote that says Rav Yossi disagrees with the Chachamim only in regard to where this event took place. This dispute is not relevant to the legal issue of the Mishnah.
Oh, so that strengthens your kasha. So why are we even bringing it down, right? Sometimes you see a bunch of older fellows, sitting, around a tikkun, and there's somebody or a kiddush and Shabbos morning, and they start arguing about the smallest facts, right? And you think, what's the matter with these people? What are you? So bring this Mishna as a raya, right? Okay, whatever it is. Okay,
Wait,
so
of why it matters or doesn't matter?
Why that? If the Mishnah could spend time on it, then
It
sitting around the
matters.
kiddush, right?
Exactly.
Sitting
It
around
matters.
the kiddush,
The
correct,
details
correct.
matter.
It matters. It matters.
The details
Clearly,
matter.
it matters. Yes, 100%. I'm sure Shmuley Sugar will have what to say about the different shuks, and maybe there's enough kamina. Okay, whatever. Rabbanon. What's a pshan in the Rabbanon? Right? What does the Rabbanon have to do with R Meir, which is sort of Gershon? I don't know if that's exactly what you're asking. So, R Meir, reshus harabim, right? R Meir is talking about reshus harabim. Karmelis, and they're talking about a karmelis, right? Because why? The Amar Rabba Bar Rachana, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Yerushalayim, ilmalei dal seiseh nunales balayla. If it wouldn't be, right, that the doors were closed at night, chayavan alem ashum reshus harabim. You'd be chayav on reshus harabim, right? But the doors are closed, so therefore it's not a reshus harabim; it's a karmelis. So how can the Chachamim start talking about taking a key off the window in Yerushalayim when that's clearly a karmelis to reshus hayachid? And R Meir was talking about reshus harabim to reshus hayachid. So how could you're mixing two different cases? So Rapapa kan koydem shenivritz of pirtzas, kan la'achar shenivritz of pirtzas. No, one is talking about where they didn't before there were breaks in the wall, and one is talking about after there were breaks in the wall. Right, so after there were breaks in the wall, then it's a reshus harabim. So the Chachamim were talking about a Yerushalayim after the wall got broken down a little bit, which obviously means that there has to be the openings have to be bigger than 10 amas. Otherwise, those are also considered doors. Right, Rav Amar, Seifa Asan l'Shari Gina. No, the Seifa, they were talking about gates for a garden, which we know a garden is a karmelis, right? And they're saying that R Meir, not only is R Meir machmer to open the door from reshus harabim to reshus hayachid, R Meir is also machmer from a karmelis to reshus hayachid. This is what he's saying. V'chein lo yamed reshus hayachid v'yichtach b'karmelis, and you shouldn't stand in reshus hayachid and open the door in a karmelis. The karmelis v'yichtach reshus hayachid, and in a karmelis and open the door in reshus hayachid. Now we're on Talmud base. Elim kain also mechitza gavaya asar tvachim divrei Meir, unless you make a mechitza higher than 10 tvachim around you. Amrulai, so they told him, Ma'aseh b'shuk shab tamim, shahay b'Yerushalayim, shal yunoyel u'manichan es ha'maftech v'chaloin shal gabi Pesach. Rabbi Yossi b'shuk shal tzmarim hayu was not the right. The Gemara reiterates to make sure that same disagreement is here again, right? But okay, so but the point is that the Gemara and the Havamina thought that R Meir would not say this chumrah by a karmelis, and now the Gemara is saying no, he would say it even by a karmelis. Right, which makes a big difference, because you would say in Farakaway at the max, if you don't hold it at Eruv, it's a karmelis, right? It's not a reshus harabim deraisa. That's right. I mean, l'chara. At least it's a suffix of that. So then you don't have this whole issue if it's only a gezeira from reshus harabim reshus hayachid. And now that we're saying that R Meir holds that it is a problem even from a karmelis, so then even here you would have a problem. So Tanur Rabbanan, Piskei Shar, yeah.
Just thinking, maybe there is a small chilik in halacha between the Chachamim and Rabbi Yossi. The Chachamim would say it was by a shuk shel tabachim, the butchers. They also sell cooked meat. From a mela, there may have been a reason to go there on Shabbos. But Samarim only sell raw wool. There's no reason to go there on Shabbos. Rabbi Yossi is saying they even allowed it for.
They want to keep their chong. They want to warm up their chong. They're putting wool around the chong pots.
And they have to be mekatzeh at of Shabbos. But in general, there's no reason.
What are you asking?
Can't do that on Shabbos either. I'm just saying, maybe there's a small chilik in halacha here between the tabach and the tamar.
Oh, you're saying shot in that, yeah?
In tabach has cooked meat in the store. You can go there on Shabbos and get cooked meat. Even there, there's a gezeira not to. The Rabbi Yossi would argue.
How do you know they didn't have wool sweaters already made?
No, Samar is someone who only sells combed wool. He's not a tailor. A tailor is a different profession. The butcher deals with meat. Sells raw, sells cooked.
I hear. I don't know. Okay, let's see. You got a little widen. How does it get to 10 to 10 already? I don't understand. Okay. Amud Beis, like Parrot said, next round, Bez Hashem, we're going around. We're gonna do start from Amud
Yaakov, can I
Beis.
as an observer, because I didn't come from Brachas, you always start at 9:10, so you're not saying an hour to 10 o'clock. It's
That's
only
true,
15 minutes to 10 o'clock. That's
Right,
all.
right.
I'm not saying anything.
Yeah.
When we started, we had a 40-minute cutoff time where the video would shut off after 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Back when we used blue jeans.
Right. Before Corona. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so Tana Rabbanan. Pische Sharegina, right? The oak.
DC.
Tana Rabbanan, right? So Pische Sharegina, right? So if you have the doorway to a garden, right? Bisman sheyesh len beis shar mibifnim. When there's a, did anybody have pictures of this? Did anybody post pictures of this? It might be clearer if somebody posts a picture, but when it has like a base shar, how do you call it? We had it a couple of blot ago, more than a couple of blot ago. Like a vestibule, vestibule, something like that, right? So Pesach for Noel, bifnim, then you can go and you can stand inside and open and close the door. If you have the vestibule on the outside, you can open and close it from the outside. Mikan. If you have a vestibule on either side of the door, then you can open on either side. But if it doesn't have either one, asur and kan, then each one is asur. And the same thing with the stores that you have that open up to Reshus. Right, when the lock is lamata me'asara, right? So here, the lock is less than 10 tefachim, right? Maybe mafteach me'erev Shabbos. You have to bring a key. You could bring a key from erev Shabbos, right? Omanichai ba'skufa and put it on the what do you call it? The stoop, right? Which is, I guess, the makor for hiding the key under the mat, right? And lemachor pesach v'noel, and the next day you open it and you close it, or machzir la and you put it back on the skufa. It was manchan minol l'malam me'asara, but when the lock is above 10 tvachim, then that becomes a reshus hayachid. So then maybe mafteach me'erev Shabbos, you have to bring the key on erev Shabbos, and manicha b'minol, you got to leave it on. It says b'minol, right? But you got to leave it in the lock, which really means on top of the lock, right? And the reason why you can't leave it on the stoop is because from the stoop is a karmelis and the lock is a reshus hayachid, is above 10 tvachim. So lemachar pesach v'noel, and then the next day you on Shabbos, meaning you open it and close it, or machzir l'mekoyim and put it back to its place. Divrei R Meir, that's what R Meir holds. Even when the minol is above 10 tvachim, maybe mafteach me'erev Shabbos, you can bring the key from erev Shabbos and manicha ba'askufa and put it in the askufa l'mocher pesach v'noel. The next day you open and close and machzir l'mekoyim and put it back to its place, right? We're going to see what the pshan and the Machlokes is in a minute. Or you put it on the window, shal gabi pesach, that's on top of the door. Im yesh b'chaloin arba osir. But if the window has 4 tvachim by 4 tvachim, then that's a reshus hayachid, and then it would be osir to take it. Like Akiva was saying, because then you're taking it from one reshus to another reshus, right? You're going from a karmelis, which is the stoop, to reshus hayachid, right? And it's going in a makom patur. Midika Amar. So the Gemara says Midika Amar b'chein chanuyas. This that it says, and also stores have the same issue. Mechlal dibeskuvas karmelis askina. We're talking about a stoop that's a karmelis, right? So high minol. Okay, fine. So that's what we're saying. So then the Gemara is going to analyze it. So high minol heichidami. What's the deal with this lock? Either less pay arba. If the lock doesn't have 4 tvachim. Makom Paturu, so it's a Makom Patur, right? So what would be wrong with taking a key from a karmelis to a Makom Patur, right? Yeah. And if it does have 4, right? Then even the Rabbanon would say, I'm saying not would the Rabbanon say that up is much that you can do this even when the lock is above 10, right? So then maybe maftech erev shabbos menicha b'skufa, that you could take it from the maftech from erev shabbos and put in the skufa l'machar pesach b'noyel u'machzira l'eskufa, and you can put it back on the stoop. Oy l'chaloin shal gabi pesach v'akam ataltem karmelis reshus hayachid, meaning mamarav shach. If you go with the Rabbanon, if it's talking about above 10, if it's bigger than 4, then how are the Rabbanon allowing you to take it from the stoop, right? That's taking it from a karmelis reshus hayachid. If it's bigger than 4 tefachim. So Amar Rabbi Loilam de'ein by arba. Right? This is mamish from left field, this teretz. We're talking about where the lock did not have 4 tefachim. The yesh by lochok u'lashlima ledala, but it has room that you could cut out an area that's 4 tefachim. Right? We had this way back of upligi. The R Meir said chayik in lahashlim. R Meir says that you're allowed to chayik. You look at it virtual. We're back to virtual. You have a little opening, a little hole of opening. Since there's room in the door to make it 4 tefachim by 4 tefachim, so therefore you're able to do that. Rabbanan Tzavri ain't chayking l'hashim. We don't look at it like chayking l'hashim. Remember, the original case was if you have a doorway for a mezuzah that's bent on the top, so then it doesn't have the shear of a doorway, so do you look at like the door as if you square it off? Yeah. So that comes down. That's the whole machlokes between R Meir and the Rabbanon. So Amar Abibi Barabaya, Shma Mina Mehamas Nisa. We hear from this brayso tlas. We learn out 3 things. Shamina Chaykin Lahashlim. We learn out that we go with Chaykin Lahashlim to make it into 4 tefachim. The Shma Mina Hadabe R Meir Mishari Gina, and we know that R Meir was chayzer from his din of Shari Gina from the karmelis. Right, so he holds that this you are allowed to go from a karmelis to reshus hayachid, b'shamas mina, and the Rabbanan isal the Rav Dimi, and that we know that that from the Rabbanan that Rav Dimi that Rav Dimi is correct. Also Rav Dimi, Amar Rav Yochanan, makom shein by arba al arba. Applying, we've had this a bunch of times. Rav Dimi held that if you have something, a pillar that doesn't have 4 by 4, mutter levnei reshus harabim, levnei reshus hayachid, l'kasev alav. It's mutter for the bnei reshus harabim, bnei reshus hayachid to rest. L'kasef comes from the word shoulder, right? To leave things on it. As long as they don't swap, meaning the guy from reshus harabim doesn't put down his bag, and then the reshus hayachid guy comes and takes it, like in the spy, right? Like they said, like they do in the spy movies. That's the way you transfer over the thing. One guy puts it down, and the other guy comes and takes it. As long as you don't do that, then you're okay. So you see the same. You see here we do the same thing. Carrying to a mokum patur is okay. I think it's kedai, since tomorrow we try and do an hour and a half. Let's just do the next mission. It's not so complicated until the next Gemara. So nagar. So a nagar is a bolt. Sheyesh b'roshei glustera. If you have a bolt hanging on a door to be able to lock the door, right? You have the bolt. It's hanging by a string, right? So if it has a glustera on it, glustera means like a handle. Rabbi Eliezer says you're not allowed to use it. Right, because it's like baina. But Rabbi Yossi matter, but Rabbi Yossi says it's mutter, right? Since it has a way, meaning if you use it if it has a knob at the end, you could use it to crush. Going back to the last sugi, right? You can use it to crush things. So it has a din of a kli. So Rabbi Eliezer Maisa beknessa shebetveria. There was a shul in Tveria. Shayu noiga by heter. They were noiga heter to use this type of lock. Achabar Rabbi Gamliel was a kanim. Vasul and Rabbi Gamliel was a kanim came and asked them. Rabbi Yossi Aimer Isru no guba Rabbi Gamliel was kanim of tirula. And right again, the difference in the stories. But this one's a lot more than the last Mishnah. Right, this one he's right. Rabbi Gamliel came and said it was there was mutter. Rabbi Gamliel came and asked it, and Rabbi Yossi saying no, it was the opposite. It was usher, and Rabbi Gamliel came and mattered it. Right, a much more major machlokes. So the Gemara says, "Benitl ba'agdai." If there's a string and it's hanging from a string, right, and you're able to take it, meaning that the string is strong enough, kuli hamalei pligi. There's no machlokes that you're allowed to use it, because that string, it's obviously a normal use. That string is heavy enough to carry it and to attach it to the door. Ki pligi. When is the machlokes? Be'she'ena nitl be'igdai, where you can't take it with the string, meaning the string is not strong enough to hold this bolt. The Marsa, One holds that since it's a Torah that has a gluster on it, it has a knob, so it has a Torah's kli, right? And therefore it's not going to look like construction. Since you can't move it with the strings, so then it's not going. Even if it has that bulk, it still looks like you're going to do baina. All right, have yourselves a good night and sleep tight.
Shkaya.
Yeah, that was a lot of technical
Thank
stuff.
you.
To Yaakov, just a
Yeah.
point. I remember we always discussed this with Rabbi Yossi. That Rabbi Yossi, we always try to make his shita go according to the shita we passed in life, because he had a clear mind when it came to
Correct, right? Very
his
good.
svaras. So it's interesting that Rabbi Yossi is the one who wants to see the Rav Gamliel passing l'shita say according to his own shita. In the first way the Mishna said it, the halacha was going to go against Rabbi Yossi.
What
Rabbi
do you mean?
Yossi answered, and Rabbi Yossi mattered, and Rabbi Lazar answered, and Rabbi Lazar said basically that the halacha went like him, halacha might, and Rabbi Yossi is like, no, I remember it the other way. The halacha went like me. It's like they're in a gay b'davar in terms of the halacha.
What do you mean then a gay b'davar?
Each one remembered the story according to the way they came out misvara.
Right. So he's saying, but from this, you think it's l'shitasam?
Yeah, each went according to their own shita. The way the story they repeated the story.
Why are you saying l'shitasam?
They mamish said over the story that the Rabbi Gamliel was the Canaan passing like me, or the other one said no, the Rabbi Gamliel was the Canaan passing like me.
Oh, I didn't chop you talking about that because Rabbi Yossi was in the Rabbi Yossi is the one. Yeah. Interesting, right? Yeah. I mean, although you could say it's a riot the other way, right?
They each tried to bring riots to the svara. They said, look, everyone they passed them like me.
Right. Yeah, I hear.
What,
Very good.
what
That's
was
a good
that
order.
what was that text today? From that random
talking-
number. Yeah.
Huh?
Your halacha tweet went out randomly from a 1-800 number today. You know
Oh,
that?
you got to speak to Icky about that. It went out to everybody. I thought only I got it.
No, it was a test. Don't worry about it. Disregard.
Oh,
It was a test.
It was a test of the emergency broadcasting system. In the event of a real emergency, you will receive that text followed by emergency instructions.
There you go. Leave it to them. They're trying to figure out. They're trying to figure out a way to do the daily halacha text is getting quite expensive. So it's you can't send out mass. Once Twitter stopped with their text feed, right? So now it's you got to pay. So it's just if there's a free way to do it or a cheaper way to do it, so why waste the money?
But if anybody wants to dig into their pockets and help pay for it, that would help.
He doesn't want. He doesn't want.
I know.
Icky doesn't want?
You got to take it up with Icky.
He'll take it if you bother him. But
That's
yeah,
Avi's got
this
war.
him. That's my specialty.
Avi's got this war that he's going to get Icky to give it. Icky says he has no problem paying for it. So whatever. Let them all fight it out.
I have no problem getting on his case. That's my specialty.
There you go.
Fine.
All right, fellows.
But that's what that was about. We were hoping to find a way to cut the bill in half, but it looks like the vendor found a way to add charges.
I don't understand. How many texts he's sending out?
1,500 texts every freaking day.
All right. In 2 weeks, we'll figure out something. Because I have to do something for my home anyway, mass alerts. So maybe able to tag it on that way.
Oh, maybe you just use this one.